I see people coming into the room, so I will start the housekeeping announcements as people get themselves situated in a virtual room. A lot easier than doing it in a real room. Welcome to the Virtual College Fair. Thanks for joining us. A few announcements before we get started. You can use the Q&A button on your screen to type your questions to our presenters at any time, either at the top of your screen or at the bottom, depending on how your layout shows. Again, use that Q&A button anytime you'd like to ask questions of our presenters. Your cameras and microphones are off, so the panelists cannot see or hear you. So you can be as comfortable as you'd like to be and not have to worry about being seen on camera. This is just one of the many different sessions happening, so be sure to sign up for additional ones where you signed up for this one. And this presentation is being recorded and will be available within about a week at the same website where you registered. That's all the housekeeping stuff I've got, so I'm going to get out of the way and turn it over to Sharon and Sonia.
Thank you, Russ. So Sharon, if you could go ahead and share your screen. There we go.
Yes.
There's the New College
I'm getting there.
PowerPoint. So New College is the public honors college of the State University System of Florida. So we are both an honors college and a public college. We're located in Sarasota, which is about an hour south of Tampa, right on the west coast of Florida. You can see our map of Florida there. We're also about an hour and a half from Orlando, about 4 hours from Miami, depending on how quickly you drive. And the campus is very nice. It's located right on the Sarasota Bayfront. We're next door to the Ringling Museum. We're about a mile and a half north of downtown. Sarasota has lots of arts activity. There are lots of interesting science and conservation things going on in town as well, which is really great for students who want to do internships. So our new focus at New College is the Compass, which is our new integrated way of approaching the liberal arts in a very practical way. We take our already academically rigorous program and the individualized, flexible aspects of our program and have incorporated very strong career preparation activities. So right from day one, our students are now assigned a career coach. And we offer lots of opportunities for students to do things like not just job fairs, but to build internships into their academic programs for credit through the January independent study period, or for tutorials, which are kind of like courses that you create for yourself with your faculty's approval, resume writing, workshops, special chances to learn more about your skills and how to build them. Novo Career Network to link you up with alumni and with professionals in the area. We've got an MCAT course that you can take if you're thinking of going off to med school. You can do that for actually academic credit. And we want to make sure that students have lots of chances, not just to prepare for a career in that way that sometimes students will say, this is what I'm going to do because this is what I thought I was going to do my entire life, or what my parents thought I should be doing with my life. We want you to explore and find the things you're passionate for and have a chance to experience those things a bit firsthand as part of your academic program. So some special things about our program. We're very heavy on faculty mentoring. So all advising is done by our faculty through an academic contract system where you actually discuss what your goals are, not just choose your courses, and think about what you really want to accomplish. And it's a way to get to know each other as well as a way to sign up for your classes. It's also a very flexible program so that sometimes students will decide a little farther into the term, yeah, I want to add in something else. So long as you have permission from your faculty, it's possible to do that. We also have a very intimate environment. Our average class size here is 12 students, and our student-faculty ratio is 7:1. So it's very easy to get to know your faculty, and they expect you to want to work closely with them. Also, all of our students do a senior capstone experience. So for some of our students, that might be something like a special internship and a write-up that they discuss with their faculty. It might be a literature review. In some cases, it's creative work. When I was a student way back when, I was an art major, and so I did a show of my work, a mixture of sculpture and drawings and paintings. And then I did a short write-up about the work that I did and what my influences were, and I discussed that with my professors. Everybody's senior project is something that's like their final hurrah at New College. The different independent parts of the program build up to that. We also have some new certificate programs. So if you're looking to build some experience, job experience and skills in business or in technology, these are some of the programs that are available to you. And we've added in some new majors recently, which is very exciting to me. We have a new major in statistics, and we also have a new joint concentration in creative writing. A lot of our students are creative writers. This would be a great outlet for them. And we also have in the works a plan to add in a new dual degree program with University of Florida, which is our flagship university in the state system here, where students over the course of 5 years will earn a Bachelor of Arts from New College and a Bachelor of Science and Engineering from UF. So this is a little bit about the different folks on campus and the resources out there in the community and abroad. On campus, we have different kinds of residence halls. Currently with COVID, of course, we're doing everything we can to keep the density low. So most of our students are actually housed in private rooms at the moment, but usually if you're new to the school, you would have a roommate. We've got living learning communities, which are ways for you to live with other people who have a common interest, whether that's an interest in something like theater or performance, outdoor adventures. If you're a writer, there are lots of different things. We've even got a leadership area that's the living learning community. We've got different clubs and organizations. Mostly those are put together by students. We don't do the traditional intercollegiate athletics, but we do have a sailing team. And our sailing team does sometimes go off for regattas. They went to nationals one year. Lots of local opportunities for things like internships and research. Again, lots of science and conservation activity here in the area, as well as different organizations and social justice, which is a very important topic right now, of course. We've got a number of students who are working in the local multicultural health initiative, and the multicultural action team to bring better services and resources to our local community members. We're also a member of the Cross College Alliance, which is a group of colleges right here in the Sarasota-Bradenton area where our students can do coursework at one of the other schools for credit, but for no additional cost. So our students at New College may take a course up at our 2-year partner school or down at Ringling College of Art and Design, or through the Ringling Museum that's run by Florida State University. So it's a great way for folks to have access not only to some additional coursework that we might not offer ourselves, but also to get some experience on another campus and to meet other people. We've also got some special exchange opportunities. New College is a member of Eco League, which is 6 different colleges with a strong sustainability commitment that are also located in 6 different ecosystems. So if you go to Alaska or off the coast of Maine, Prescott in Arizona, so there are a number of different options there. We also are a member of the National Student Exchange, which has about, I think it's about 300 different colleges available and some study abroad programs. So here's a list of our different majors. We call them areas of concentration. And with these, you can see creative writing is one of our new joint concentrations, and that's one I'm very excited about. We've also got quantitative social science that's been added recently in rhetoric and writing, but we offer basically about 40 different fields of study, lots of ways of combining them, whether it's a full concentration or a concentration in something that's more like a minor, lots of ways to focus on the things that are most exciting to you and to look for ways to build into your program experiences that are not being taught as courses. If there's something that you want to study and your faculty are supportive of it, you talk with them about how can I do this for credit? Can I do it as a tutorial or an independent reading project or in January? Again, we're right on the water. You can go to the next slide, Sharon, that'd be great. So we're right on Sarasota Bay. This is very, very popular with our marine biology majors. Marine bio is one of the most popular fields here on campus. And our students have a chance to go right out on the water. They've also got their own marine biology research center on campus where they can learn about building and maintaining tanks and study different ecosystems and go right out into the bay to collect specimens. So the structure of our program is a little bit different. We do have classes that meet in classrooms that have exams and papers, but again, there's a strong individualized component to our program. So when there are things that you want to do that may be group projects or just individual projects, you talk with your faculty about how you can pursue those for credit. And all of your faculty who work with you, instead of giving you a grade at the end of the semester, at the end of January independent study period, they'll provide you with a performance evaluation so they can tell you, hey, here's stuff that you did well, but here are things I'd really like you to work on so that you can become a stronger student. And one of the things our students really like about that is they get to know their strengths better. Sometimes students come to us and they're used to sort of settling for a grade. They do what they need, know they need to do. And here it's sort of like your faculty are always kind of pushing you to work harder, learn more, explore more as well. And sometimes they'll make recommendations for things that you might consider for future independent work. So we do have students definitely who come to New College who are thinking of graduate school. It is very common for our students to go off to grad school. As you can see here, 44% earn at least one additional degree. We're actually the top public college in the States for graduates who go on to earn the PhD. As you can see, it's not even close. Not to say that these aren't all wonderful schools. We feel like we're in very good company. But because we're an honors college and because it's a very academically focused environment, our students are very well prepared for the independence and the skills that are required of them in grad school. So this is about our cost of attendance. The cost of coming to New College is very low. We're a public college and that keeps our prices very reasonable. Our state is very committed to keeping tuition pretty even, and it's been the same rate now, I think, for 3 or 4 years at least. Our Florida residents get the best rate, of course, because we're public, but our out-of-state residents also have a very good cost. The tuition and fees for an out-of-state student are very comparable to the out-of-state tuition fees at other public colleges, and it's very, very reasonable when you compare the usual tuition fees for a private college or a private university. Room and board, I've found, also compares very well. Room and board, usually a little bit higher than people expect when they first think about their bill for college, but ours really compares very favorably with other schools. We also, one of the things that we do to try to keep New College as affordable as possible is we have a very generous program of scholarships. If you're a Florida resident and you're coming to us from high school, we're going to have 3 different tiers of what we call our 4-win scholarship. So there's one, I think, for there's one, the top level, if you have a 4.0 or higher, and then the second level is 3.6 or higher, and then the third level is below 3.6. For our out-of-state students, because your tuition rates are higher than our in-state students have, we use a flat scholarship of $15K per year for out-of-state residents. And almost everyone who comes to us gets a scholarship. We've also got special scholarships for students who are National Hispanic Scholars, students who are National Merit Scholars. The Benequisto Award for that is very, very generous. So definitely you'd want to look at that if you're National Merit bound and you fall into the right categories for National Merit. It actually covers all of your tuition, room, board, books, like almost down to the last slice of pizza. And then there also will be a scholarship competition, and that will start in January. So we'll send out information on that to everyone who's applying for fall 21. So when we're looking at an application, this is for obviously freshman admission. We try not to boil it down to just sort of a formula, but we have what we know is kind of a typical range. And we're looking not just at what's your grade point average, what are your exam scores. We're also looking at what kind of involvement do you have, what kind of courses are you taking. These are things that are very, very important to us. Ideally, you're challenging yourself with some of the most rigorous courses available to you at your school. and we recalculate everybody's grade point average to bring everyone just kind of a common scale. So when we did that and we came up with our middle 50%, you can see the weighted GPA there. Exam scores, we are not test optional. We keep asking, but our state hasn't said yes yet. So we'll keep asking, and certainly we'll let you know if they say yes. But currently this is where we stood for fall 19 for middle 50% on the SAT and middle 50% on the ACT. So these are some of our orientation leaders. This year, of course, masked up. New College is very, very dedicated to safety during this pandemic. So what we did this year to make it as safe as possible is we told students, if you are not ready to come to campus, do not come to campus. And we worked it out so that they could do their courses remotely. For our on-campus students, they can also do courses remotely from the residence halls. But we had to make sure that we were providing reduced density in the classroom. So every class has at least a remote component, and most classes have a face-to-face component. In some cases, they might have to switch off if it's something like a Monday, Thursday afternoon class and 24 students are taking it, which would be big for us. They might have 12 of them in class on the Monday and the other 12 on the Thursday, and then they switch off with the remote component. So they try to be as flexible as possible to give students the best possible access. And also, of course, to protect our faculty if any faculty have any health concerns where they might not be able to do face-to-face. And here is our contact information. We do use 2 different applications. You can use either the New College application or the common application. There is no application fee, so you don't have to worry about that. The essay is optional, and it's also optional whether or not you submit a recommendation. Tell us what you will be doing, and then that will help us know when your application is complete. And to get to either of those options, you can just go to ncf.edu/apply. And now I think we have questions, perhaps.
I don't see any yet, but I'm sure you have questions. Please ask us.
Well, so I thought one of the things that you would especially want to hear about are some of the different activities on campus. Because I know a lot of times students think automatically about things like football, fraternities, sororities. These are not really things that we do at New College. We do generally have 1 or 2 flag football games a year. We play against usually Ringling College of Art and Design, the Armadillos, and we usually beat them. And it's used as a fundraiser. So when we get together with our Cross College Alliance colleague schools, we usually say, you know, bring some canned goods, and we'll use that basically to give us a chance to help out our local food bank. We have a question about homeschooled students. So homeschoolers, it's very important that you provide us with good information about what you've done so far. So I know different homeschoolers will approach it in different ways. If you're working with a school to have like an umbrella school, to have your work transcripted for you, or if your parent is doing the assessment, we'll want to see especially the different subjects that you've studied and the levels that you've studied. If grades are being provided, we'll want to see the grades. So have your parent or your umbrella school or whoever is doing the transcription of your work provide that. And then we'll be looking at within the greater context of your application. So anything you want us to know about you, it's up to you to make sure that we get that information. And it's something where you might decide, depending on what kind of information you care for us to know, you might decide to have a recommendation sent, or you might decide to do an essay. Again, those are optional, but if it's something where you feel like, hey, this is going to help them know more who I am and what my strengths are, then we're glad to look at them. Can out-of-state students get the oh my gosh, yeah. I mean, as long as the state of Florida is honoring it, I can tell you what they're doing at the moment. It's called the Benequisto, BENACQUISTO. You have to work through our financial aid office to make sure you're providing your national merit information, because there's documentation, and only certain styles of national merit students who do certain kinds of notification can be eligible for it. But if you fit all the categories, the Benequisto is for total cost of attendance, which is the large financial aid budget. There's one for out of state, there's also one for in-state. What are some things new college students do for fun in the surrounding areas? Okay, so we're in Florida, which means a number of things. Almost year-round access to the beach. There are some months when, you know, maybe a little chilly for the beach, but sometimes people are out at the beach in November, occasionally December, not quite so much December and January. It also means really great access to the state park system. There's a neat park in our area called Mayaca that has a canopy walkway, and you can go and see like alligators and wild pigs and all sorts of wildlife. We also have great outdoor festivals all year round, music festivals and arts and crafts festivals, different things like that. And then out in the community, one of the things that sort of popped up, I think it's probably popped up everywhere, is escape rooms. And of course, lots of cool cafes and things like that. But Florida is really neat in the sense that you really get to be out and about very easily, like really year round. What kinds of programs do you have for co-ops and internships? So there are different things that you can do for co-ops and internships. In some cases, there'll be things like through Handshake, which is the software system that they have students sign up with to find out more about things like internships and job opportunities in the area. So some of them are things that are offered to college students in general, like they might be an application process for you to get an internship at Marine Lab or something like that. But also sometimes a student will just kind of be an entrepreneur and go out and say, you know, hey, can I intern with you? And then if you find somebody who's willing to take you on, you can talk with our Center for Career Engagement and Opportunity about how can you create that internship. Even if it doesn't technically exist yet, how can you create that agreement between the organization and the school so that they will participate and help you get credit for the experience. One of my friends, Chris, who was a student in biochemistry, neurobiology really, Chris was doing volunteer work at the Roskamp Institute, which does Alzheimer's research. And he was there so long as a volunteer that they finally said, hey, would you like to get paid for what you're doing for us in the labs? And it was a great experience for helping him prepare for graduate school later. There are also things that sometimes people will start out as volunteers and they're interested in getting sort of that, just doing the kind of for the common good kind of stuff. But it can lead to other things because it's not just about being there and getting the job experience. The networking that you do also is something that's very helpful. And you're proving that you're reliable and that this is somebody they would like to have in the organization at some point, or refer to another organization, or write you a letter for graduate school or for later on. So I know that one of the things that I get a lot of questions on, and I'm going to ask Sharon to unmute herself here, is what are some of the things students go on to do after they graduate? Like some different graduate programs or jobs, you know, the alums have done.
We have, since we have so many different majors or areas of concentration, our students go in every field possible. It's kind of like a spider web, they go out. Many start careers right away in like finance or in like museum curation, in journalism, in politics, in marine science. We have an alum who's written books about sharks, and she's been on the Discovery Channel many times. She's gotten her master's degree and she's getting her PhD in New Zealand, I believe, or Australia. We have students who go on to law school, medical school, veterinary school, physical therapy. you name it.
One of the students I knew who did, he did an internship with Mo, with sea turtles. I think it was related to his senior thesis project. And he ended up going to veterinary school in Scotland, which I thought was so cool. It's like just to pick up and go to another country for grad school.
And another fun alum to say, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, go ahead.
We have an alum from, I don't know what year he's from, but he won an Oscar for robotics and filmmaking.
Oh my gosh, back. I know that alum.
Yeah, and he like studied something, I don't know what he said, he did like, humanities or something. But he did robotics while he was in New College, like on the side, kind of extracurricular stuff. Yeah. So, I mean, you never know. We kind of give you a really strong foundation at New College of Florida, where you can really go to the next level, wherever that may be, whether it be a career or going on to graduate schools or professional schools. You're going to really get those strong skills to be successful.
It's so funny about that alum too. I was really privileged to know him. He was just, he was a student. I was a recent grad, and he was very interested in going to work for Disney World. So he made, as one of his January projects, he made this robotic arm, basically. He made his own springs out of guitar strings using a drill, and he like whittled fingers and made this kind of arm and made it. And then he took it to Disney World, and he pretended to have an appointment with some bigwig in the animatronics. And he was offered a job on the spot. And he said, at first it was really hard, and then it was really fun. And then he got kind of bored, and he wanted to go back to school. So he came back and finished up his degree. And now, I mean, he's worked in like Jim Henson's Creature Shop, and now he's doing all kinds of cool things with movies and software and things like that. So, and it's my favorite thing about New College. I mean, I love the flexibility and that it's very intimate, but it's just like the people who choose to come here, they're just very exciting to be in school with. Someone has asked, is there an average acceptance rate for New College? Most of the students who apply tend to be pretty motivated. And so we admit about 70% of the students who apply. I guess it's always going to depend on the number of students who apply that particular year, but it usually hovers around 70%. When looking at applications, how much involvement in clubs and organizations is preferred? So when we look at an application, we have kind of a hierarchy of things that we look at. And it's not the same for each of us as readers, because I think as individual reviewers of application, sometimes we just kind of naturally reach consensus, and other times we bicker a little amongst ourselves. In a general way, I would say we like to see multiple years in individual activities. So rather than 1 year in this, 1 year in that, and so forth. If you've been in something for 4 years and shown that regular sort of commitment and development, maybe leadership in the activity, that's something that we tend to value more than just like doing lots of different things, not very much in any depth. But it also depends on what the rest of your application is like. I mean, I think some people almost, in terms of their activities, are almost like professional dabblers. If you're still a strong student, that's still something we're going to value. And volunteer hours preferred for this school specifically, it's not something where we say, oh, well, you don't have volunteer hours or anything like that. It's not something where it's an understood requirement, but we certainly value volunteer hours. One thing I would encourage, not just for our application process, but for any admission application, is don't just like tick a box and say, I did this and this many hours. Tell a little bit about what you actually did. Because we know that sometimes people are in a club and maybe they were voted in office, and they aren't necessarily the people who are doing all of the hard work. I mean, sometimes they are, but if you don't tell us about what you've done, we don't have as deep an understanding of what your commitment has been. Is it common for students to come in with both a major and a minor? It's very common for students to have multiple interests, absolutely. And it's also very common for students to change their ideas about what they want to do. I remember reading about One student who said, you know, in high school, he really did not like science. And then he got here and someone convinced him, you should take, you know, a chemistry course. And chemistry is not something people would usually dabble in. But he talked to his professor and she said, you know, I really like you. You're a thinker. It wasn't just, I don't know if anyone's had this experience in any of their classes, but occasionally when I was in high school, I knew that I could memorize enough to do well and get a good grade. And it's like that kind of, I mean, it's a useful skill, but it's not the best way to learn, obviously. You know, if you can invest in understanding what you're doing, it's much better than being able to remember something for a Friday quiz. And so I think that was his approach in high school. He did kind of what he needed to do to get a grade. And here he was presented with the opportunity to think about why things worked the way they worked. And that was what was engaging to him. And he ended up majoring in the sciences as a result. And that's probably something where he wasn't even thinking he might head in that direction, at least when he arrived. But great to come with multiple interests, great to explore. One of the things that's especially helpful to our students for exploring is that our faculty hold what we call mini classes, which are short presentations on the courses they're going to teach that term. So you can go to a day and a half of mini class presentations and just learn more about the professors and how they carry themselves in the classroom, how they interact with their students, what's going to be the workload like for the course, as well as what topics you can ask questions. And it's just a great introduction beyond just reading about the courses themselves. What financial aid or scholarships are available for out-of-state students? So for out-of-state students, well, for all students, you should file a FAFSA. If you're a U.S. citizen or a permanent resident alien, or what is known as an eligible non-citizen, which usually would mean if you're a refugee, you should definitely file the FAFSA, the free application for federal student aid. That's the only application we use for need-based aid and federal aid. We automatically consider everyone for scholarship funding. We are unfortunately a little bit limited. The state will not allow us to give scholarship funding to students who are DACA or undocumented. That's not our choice, that's our state's choice, regrettably. But what we do is we design our scholarships so that they're tied to the amount of tuition that you'll be charged. So if you're an out-of-state student with a higher tuition rate, out-of-state tuition fees is about $30,000 a year. So the out-of-state base level scholarship is $15,000 a year. So we try to keep everything as manageable as we can for costs. What majors do you have in the areas of mathematics? And what do your math grads go on to do? Which grad school? Well, they certainly go on to multiple grad schools. Our most famous math graduate was Bill Thurston, and he was actually in the charter class, if I recall. He was a charter class, wasn't he? So Bill Thurston actually went on to earn the Fields Medal in mathematics, which is kind of like the Nobel Prize of math. There is no Nobel Prize because Mr. Nobel's daughter was dating a mathematician and he didn't like him. So no Nobel Prize in math, but a very nice field medal for mathematics. And they only give it out every 4 years. And Bill's professor said, you know, Bill's girlfriend was actually a much better math student, but Bill liked to sort of sit in class and think. And it turned out what he was thinking about was not theory. And he went on to do wonderful things in mathematics, not just the medal, but he taught at Princeton and did all sorts of cool stuff with bringing mathematical thinking to the younger students in elementary school. Dick Canary, who was a student when I was here, went on to University of Michigan to teach. They go all over the place. Really, if you go into the part of the website where you can read about the individual concentrations, you'll see that the primary three fields in math we do mathematics, applied mathematics, and we do statistics. And if you click on mathematics, it'll take you back to where you can read about the work of our different mathematicians who teach in the program. We also have, there are crossovers because we're a liberal arts college and we have a very strong interest in interdisciplinary study. We have a data science master's program, and they're working on developing a data science program for our undergrads as well. And it's approached in kind of a different way. It's approached so that the students who go through are going through as a cohort. So they want them to be able to work as a team, and then they all end up as their final course for the graduate program. They do a practicum. It's a paid practicum with a company, and they all end up with job offers as they graduate. And because they're in data science, they tend to be making big bucks, which is nice for them. So another thing that we get asked about is other stuff in Florida. So we're one of 12 different colleges in the public university system. And it's interesting to me that Florida actually has 2 time zones. There's Pensacola, which is up in what we call the Panhandle. And Pensacola's climate is a little bit more like Alabama's climate. It's definitely kind of cooler and slightly more prone to being vulnerable to hurricanes. They also have at the other end of the north part of Florida, Jacksonville, which is definitely much colder than this area. And then as you go down the coast, we've got sort of the St. Augustine, and then Palm Beach area, Fort Lauderdale, Miami, and then down to the Keys. If you have a chance to explore in our state, there are lots of different ecosystems just within the state of Florida. We had 2 of our graduates who were founding members of the college's environmental studies program, John O. Miller and Julie Morris, actually hosted a January Independent Study project where they took a group of students around to like 10 different state parks in Florida so they could experience the different kinds of flora and fauna that are resident in the different areas of the state. Let's see, do you have any more questions?
Yes, there's one more. Will New College be doing in-person tours soon? If so, when?
Well, we sure hope we will be, but of course we have to be very cautious. We're so committed to preventing the spread of the virus, and so the vast majority of us who are on staff are actually working from home. We have, I would say, at any given time, maybe 2 or 3 of our team on campus, and that's out of more like 10 people. So we want to make sure that it's safe for you to come back and it's safe for us to take you around campus. In the meanwhile, we do have a tour that's on video. It's led by a couple of our students. My hope is that the spread of the virus will be down enough that we'll be able to do tours starting in January. I would be surprised if it's before then, but we'll wait and see. And certainly we will send out messages to everyone when we're ready to go ahead and do in-person tours. In the meanwhile, since we're doing everything we can to kind of limit human contact, things that you can do. We have individual Skype sessions that you can set up. We also have Zoom sessions that you can just pop in on. And we're planning our online open house. I think it's going to be November 14th. Don't hold me to it, but November 14th, 10 to 1 is our plan for the moment. And the idea there is that you have a chance not just to talk to the nice admissions people, although of course we'll be there too, but to have a chance to interact with faculty and other staff and with students. These are things we can also help you with now. So it's not something you just have to wait and say, oh, when are they going to have an event? One of the luxuries of working with a small school is we're dying to have you talk to our students and faculty. And our faculty and students love to talk with folks about New College. So if you're thinking, I'd really like to visit a class, but who's traveling now? We can help you visit a class online. We can also put you directly in touch with students, sometimes actually in the field that you want to study. We can also put you in touch with faculty. So let us know how we can get you the kind of contact and information that you want. If interested in social work, would psychology be the closest program? I suspect it would be, but you might also be interested in sociology. It's not the same thing as social work, certainly. And you might be interested in some sort of combination of the two. You might also be interested in a couple of the other programs that are possible, like biopsychology may be a very good choice, so that you can learn more about kind of the internal workings of the body and the relationship of that to psychology, or work in neuroscience. I mean, there are really some different possibilities. One of our faculty has a specialty in sort of like, Sharon, you might have to help me out here in how to describe this. It's sort of about like the, I'm just not even sure.
Which faculty are you talking about?
The professor who does work on like the effect of hormones on how people think. And I think it's related to athletics also, because, everything is affected by all of that. So, but I would say check in when you go to the undergraduate majors area, definitely click on psychology, but also click on sociology and biopsych and neurobio, neuroscience. Those would all be fields where, even if you didn't want to do it as a major, it might be something that you'd like to try out, and try out early on, because you may find that early on you make a really good connection with a certain professor. And this is, I think, something that's pretty common here, is that as you find faculty who are in fields that are interesting to you, it can really affect your decisions about what kind of direction do I want to take? How many different projects do students normally do in a given year? Okay, so January is our independent study period. So you've got all of January to work on just one project. And so for most students, if they're coming right from high school, they will do one January project each year, and then they'll do projects for individual courses. And so those would usually be, I would say, a couple of projects each semester. And then also tutorials, which are not necessarily projects, but may involve a project of some kind. We even, like, one of the things that students will sometimes ask to do is going to be an independent reading project. You might be interested in doing readings on a certain topic, or reading, like, if you're interested in children's literature, you might want to read all the Caldecott and Newbery Award-winning books or something like that. You can come up with a project that will involve writing an annotated bibliography and doing it for credit as a tutorial. So there are lots of different ways to approach that. And there are also sometimes faculty will, for courses, sometimes they'll assign a group project, because one of the valuable skills that you can learn early on before you hit the job market is how to work collaboratively on a project. A lot of our students have had at least one experience being part of a group project somewhere else and feeling like, I was the one who had to make sure everything got done. Not everyone did their part. I mean, these are kind of constant refrains. And so sometimes they come here not wanting to do group projects, but it really is a valuable skill to learn. And sometimes when I'm feeling like, oh, I really need to start learning how to delegate, it makes me realize how much I could have gained from having more experience with that, instead of just sort of saying, oh, here, let me do that, and make sure it gets done on time. Let's see, what else do we have?
I think we're almost at time.
Are we almost at time?
Yes.
Well, let's see.
Great questions, though.
What should we leave them with? So just a couple of things about deadlines. For fall 21, so if you are applying to enter in August next year, our early action deadline is December 1, but we actually will start releasing decisions in a couple of weeks here. So we'll work on rolling admission for that. Scholarship consideration is automatic with your admission application. For the scholarship competition, we've got competition scholarships for STEM, writing, and leadership. We'll send out invitations to participate in that in January, and then the deadline to get everything in for that competition, which involves a separate application, the deadline for that will be March 1. So it's good to just make sure that you're monitoring your email, and make sure that as you have questions about any of this, like, do I need to turn in anything else, or how do I find out about this, or you know, I lost my password, how do I get back into my student portal, or whatever. Make sure you stay in touch with us so that we can help you navigate that sort of stuff. And then if you end up deciding, yes, I want to come to New College, what you'll want to make sure also that you do is square away anything related to aid. So if you get asked to go ahead and submit backup documents for federal aid or anything like that, very, very important to follow up, and to follow up quickly. If you wait, it will make it harder for you to know where you stand. And they actually cannot disperse and give out any aid for a student if they have not followed up on what's requested for things like exceptions and verification. And when we tell you things like, make sure you do your academic advising questionnaire, it's because at the other end, there's the provost's office saying, where's their academic advising questionnaire so we can assign them to an academic advisor. So even though it sometimes seems like, oh, we're asking you to do an awful lot once you've gotten through that major part of getting your application complete and getting an offer of admission, there actually is a good reason why we ask you to do all of those other things. And if you ever lose track of parts of it, did I get this done? That's what we're there for. I mean, we're really glad to step in and help out. And as you want to know things that are kind of more directly stuff you would hear from fellow students, we've got a whole team of student ambassadors who are right there to help. I see our screen has changed. Does this mean we're out of time, Sharon?
We have hit time, so thank you to both of you for presenting.
Oh my gosh, thank you, Russ.
Information, and to all the attendees, thank you for joining us. When you close your window, there'll be a link to a very quick 4-question survey. We'd appreciate any feedback you can provide. Also, just a quick reminder, this is just one of many sessions being hosted, so be sure to sign up for additional sessions where you signed up for this one. And in about a week, you'll be able to find this session's recording as well as all of the other sessions, again, at the same website where you signed up for this. And again, those will be available in about a week. Again, thank you to our presenters, and thank you for attending. Have a good rest of your afternoon and evening.